Yeah, after that I started doing robberies. I had too much pride to ask for handouts and, you know, people to feed me and clothe me and shit. So I started robbing people pretty early on in my age, like probably around the age of 16. I was already robbing fools and establishments like fucking department stores. You name the kind of store that you see in your everyday life, I robbed it, you know? And eventually I got caught for strings of robberies. My first robbery, we robbed it's kind of funny because I had took my little girl to the mall. I think my little girl was like about 2 years old, and she saw a few things that she wanted, items, and I spent the money that I had for the week on my little girl at the mall. And I've always been about money, so when I noticed that I had less than $200 in my pocket, I started stressing, and my only other way to cash out was go do another robbery. So I dropped off my baby with my sister at her job. I told her, hey, watch the baby for a couple hours. I got something to do. And so I drop off my baby, my 2-year-old, and I go do a robbery with a couple of my homeboys. And I was always the one that used to get off and do them because I was so good at them. But this particular time, like an idiot, I told my homeboys, you know what? I'm tired of fucking always being the one. Get off your ass and run up in that motherfucker and learn how to do it yourself. Biggest mistake I ever did because the fucking homies went in there like it was menace to society, jumping over counters, pistol whipping fools, and putting guns to ladies' heads and all that. Long story short, we got caught. You know what I mean? So that was the first time, one of the first times I went to prison, and I was in prison for like multiple years, like 4. I think I did 4 years and some change that time. And then I got out, and then the robberies are addicting. You know, fast money is almost like a drug. I think it's probably even worse than a drug. You know what I'm saying? So I got out, and I tried looking for work. At the time, the economy was kind of rough, so it was hard to get jobs. So being broke wasn't an option for me. So right away, I think about after, I think I was out like a couple of months. And one of my homies had just got out that had done time for a robbery that I did, but he got busted for. So my homeboy did 5 years for robbery that I did. He kept his mouth shut like a G would, you know what I mean? He did his time, and when he got out, he was like, hey, I'm doing bad, and you owe me. And I was like, what you mean I owe you? He was like, fuck all this doing good shit. I ain't trying to hear that shit. Like, I did 5 years free ass, kept my mouth shut, didn't fucking tell on you. Like, get off your ass. We got to go to work. So I was like, fuck it. So sure enough, we went on a string of robberies again. And eventually this time, the cops started stacking up cases on me, you know? I had shot at somebody in my neighborhood. They wanted me for that shit. And so eventually they tried to build up a case, you know, surveillance, watching me and shit. And I had, you know, I've always been lucky with women, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't stay at home all the time. I'd bounce around from female to female. And one of these nights, I happened to get lucky, and I spend the night with one of, you know, this girl I'm being with. And I'm with her. I go to sleep. 5 in the morning, I wake up. My phone's blowing up, you know? So I check in. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I call my sister. She's like, hey, you need to fucking get the fuck out of here. Like, cops just raided the pad. They had us outside, searched the motherfucker, and said they want you for attempted murder for robberies. So at that point, I'm like, holy shit, you know? And I take off on the run to Colorado. I fucking rent a U-Haul truck, grab the burner, and I dip. And they found me over there. The cops still found me. I was over there free for about 4 months. Capone was going out there, and I was doing shows with them. Criminals going out there, I was doing shows with them and stuff. I was affiliated with High Power at the time. So one morning, I'm in this apartment that I had leased. I had leased an apartment for a few months, and I'm cooking breakfast, and a girl that I'm being with has a little boy, and me and her little boy had a real close bond. So for some reason that day, I told her, hey, leave him, you know, don't send him to school. Like, let me play PlayStation with this fool, smoke weed, and just chill, you know? She was like, all right. You know, gangster bitches back then, they didn't give a fuck. They'll leave the kids with the homies and shit, you know? So I'm like, yeah. So we're kicking it, cooking breakfast and shit. He's playing God of War, I think it was at the time. And the phone starts ringing. I'm high as fuck, though, mind you. It's like 8:30 in the morning, you know? High as fuck. Grab the phone. I'm like, what's up? So the other person on the other end of the phone is like, this is Lakewood Police Department. Like, we want you to know that we got your house surrounded. So I'm thinking it's one of the homies fucking with me. So I'm like, fuck you, shut the fuck up, call me back. And I hang up, boop. And the phone rings again. So they pick it up. I pick it up and I'm like, what? Like, I'm cooking. They're like, dog, it's not a joke. Look outside your window. So I look outside the window, and sure enough, that bitch is fucking surrounded. And they're like, look, down your stairway, there's a SWAT team waiting to go into your house. If you surrender, we'll avoid all that shit. You come out peacefully, turn yourself in. So I tell them, look, there's a kid in here with me. Like, I don't want nothing to happen to the child, you know what I'm saying? Let me send the baby out, and then after I know he's good, I'll come out. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, let's do it. So I say my goodbyes to the little boy, give him a little hug, give him a little kiss, tell him I love him, and I send him out. And sure enough, they grab him, take him, and I came out and I surrendered myself. And that's when at that point, I was fighting 85 years to life. I fought it for about 10 months. I went to trial.
They extradited you?
Yeah, hell
Back
yeah.
over here?
LA came to get me within like 3 weeks, I think.
Oh, okay.
They came. I flew back. They flew me back, shackled up in a private like little jet and shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they took me back, flew me back and shit. Colorado County Jail is whack as fuck. Like, you know, the politics and the structure is completely different from LA. You know what I mean? It's a fucking mess over there. So, I came back, and yeah, I was fighting a shooting at first, and then like 5 robberies. The shooting got dropped.
Take me through that, man. What were you when they charged you with this and you were facing life in prison, man? What was going through your head?
Well, I was fucked. I fucking cried and shit. You know what I mean? Like, as gangster as I was like, fuck, this shit is over with. You know what I mean? Like, I just figured it was a wrap. Like, I just figured like, because you know, it's like whether you do the crime or not, once you're in the system and you look around you, everybody's losing their cases. You know what I'm saying? So you're just basically like, fuck it. You know, you tend to give up initially when you see the obstacles you have in front of you and the system you're going against. But yeah, I was hopeless. You know, I was scared. There was fear in my heart, but I knew that my morals and the way I was molded made me not show that weakness and made me rebel against that weakness. Because everything I've been taught is not to cry, not to fold, not to be a bitch. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So to me at that point, it was like I had to go back to all the fucking game I got. You know what I mean? So I just mustered up all the energy and faith in God that I could. And yeah, I just took it head on, but most definitely.
So take me through the trial. So now you're locked up.
Mm-hmm.
They got you for all these charges, and you're going to court. What is how many times are you going to court?
I'm going to court about maybe like once every 6 weeks. Initially the shooting back then, I don't know how it is now. I think they're able to do the same thing. The shooting, they presented me with a 6-pack, and you know, a lot of people had to circle my face, saying that I was the one, you know, that they had picked me out and it was signed and shit. But those are all forged, you know what I'm saying? So it was a tactic to try to get me to admit to the crimes and, you know, take a deal and all that shit.
So they didn't really have no evidence. They were just giving you fake.
Yeah, they didn't really have
shit.
nothing. As far as the shooting, they didn't have none. When it came to the robberies, they had a lot. You know what I mean? The robberies, they did have a lot of physical evidence. The robbery that I got convicted for happened like I was just basically tripping, man. Like I didn't, you know, like I said, I was stressing on money again for whatever stupid reason. Because I had money. I was driving a brand new car on 22s, you know what I'm saying? I had a record deal, so it's not like I was broke. But the thing is that when you're living a certain lifestyle, you get addicted to it, you know what I mean? You get addicted to going out and spending money like this and doing that. So when those means get short, you tend to do what you got to do to get that money, you know what I mean? It's a lifestyle you're addicted to. So I ran up at an establishment. I robbed it pretty much, you know what I'm saying? Jumped over the counter, did my shit, empty out registers and all that shit. But what happened, the way I got caught was that when I came out, I was in such a hurry to get away, I crossed the street with a lot of traffic on it. So a bunch of cars had to hit their brakes, right? So one car full of fucking great pedestrians fucking followed me. And they followed me, and they followed my car. They seen the car I jumped into. They followed me, took the license plate down, and then came back to the crime scene, saw cops, and were like, oh, by the way, we saw a suspicious guy getting away in this car. You might want to run a make on him. Fucking cops do a make on me. I've already done time for 2 robberies. And they're, you know what I mean? There's a robbery that they're, you know what I'm saying, looking for a suspect.
Right.
So right away, they do their homework and shit. And, you know, the neighborhood at that time, it was 2005, there was a lot of people dying, you know. in my city, like a lot of people dying. So it was I think they were trying to crack down on a lot of crime at the time. You know what I'm saying? So they piled up cases on me. The robberies, I tried finding a trial. I took it all the way to the box because the DA would not offer me a date, meaning the DA didn't. I tried.
So the only thing they were offering you was life.
Life, yeah. I tried offering them 20 years. They said no. Then I went to 15 years. I started with 15 years. They said no. Then right before I went to try, I said, fuck it, I'll do a dub. I said, I'll take 20. I'll do 16, 17 years. I'll get out, still healthy, whatever. And they shot me down. So my only choice was to go to trial. So I went to trial. I had a great lawyer, actually, because I had paid lawyer first. But paid lawyers are, they try to squeeze you for money. Eventually, I ran out. So what happened was I ended up with a state appointed. And the state appointed that I landed with was, like, surprisingly, like, great at what she did, I was really blessed. And she beat a lot of counts for me. She got me acquitted of a personal use of a firearm, which takes away the life sentence pretty much. But I got life initially when I lost my trial. But the following, within 2 weeks, I got my sentencing. The judge at a Pomona court, she reviewed.
What were you thinking when they sentenced you to life?
That I was never
done.
Yeah, I was never gonna see past walls before again. It was when they tell you that, it's almost like it's like an out of body experience, man. It almost feels like, when you see people go to the mortuary and they get their they get their insides took out. It almost feels like that. You feel what I'm saying? Like your heart is ripped out of your chest, even your stomach. It feels like your inside is put on a fucking platter and you're just a hollow being right there. You feel what I'm saying?
What was your family saying?
My family was just like, keep it gangster, write it out, keep your mouth shut, no matter what, this is the life you chose, you know what I'm saying? My oldest sister, Carla, she was the main one that really put it onto perspective. Was like, look, man, like, if you were in here, she told me, and you didn't deserve it, it'd be one thing, you know what I'm saying? She's all, but you know what you've done, so write it out, be a man about your shit, It was a real eye-opener, you know what I'm saying? Being put through that process and shit, and realizing that this is something I wasn't prepared for, or I never really knew a game plan for, you feel what I'm saying? But luckily for myself, like I said, the judge that sentenced, the DA gave that recommendation for me to get life, and the judge had to grant it. But at sentencing, the judge came back and basically went against the DA and told him, like, look, the laws are changing, like, within next year. I'm not going to be able to strike him out the way we are right now, you know what I'm saying? So that's why the life sentence was imposed, because I got struck out. At this point, after losing trial, I had 4 strikes. So the judge was basically
how many strikes did they give you for this one particular?
For this one, they gave me 1. But I had already got convicted of 3 robberies prior to that. I had already done time for 3 robberies. So this was going to be my 4th. So basically, the judge was like, I'm going to avoid the cost of bringing you back and forth and doing appeals and all that shit and the headaches. And I'm just going to give you the maximum sentence that I can give you right now, which is 18 years, I think, at the time she gave me. And then I went upstate through processing and more motions that my lawyer kept putting in for me without me paying her. Out of her own kindness of her heart, she got me down to 15. And then eventually, I had been down 10 years, 2 months. And Prop 47 kicked in. And I was watching the news and seeing the laws change and all that shit, but I had given up on keeping track of that shit because it stresses you out in prison, to keep thinking about what's next and what hope do I got, you know what I'm saying? After a decade of being down, I was just like, fuck it, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But sure enough, Prop 47 kicked in, and I got a 2 weeks notice before I came home that I was going home. I still had years to go, and just out of nowhere, they were like, you're going home in 14 days, so start getting ready, and then next thing you know, I was out. You know what I mean? They just kicked me out.
Well, okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, most definitely.
So it took you by surprise, man. How were you feeling when you got that news?
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I suffered from anxiety. I suffered from a lot of stress, getting out. I didn't really get to transition or prepare for it. My family didn't either. So I kind of came home to no game plan and just, having to wing it on my own and figure out how I was going to do it. You know what I'm saying? My family did help me though. This time I got out a lot. You know what I'm saying?